not be mean to longsword players. I will not be mean to longsword players. I will not... oh. Hey, what's up guys? K-Plays here. Another day, another weapon showcase, and since they told me I can't just do hunting horn again today, I guess we're talking about longsword. Nah, but jokes aside, full disclosure, longsword is probably the weapon I've looked into the least. So after getting my full 8 hours and taking the wife out to a brunch date for understanding that hunting horn drop was a hunting horn drop everything and record kind of thing, I had to sit down and do some research to pin down the new stuff going on here. Apologies in advance to Deer Gamer, Ratatosker, Uno Hunter when he tries to balance out the universe by maining both the best and worst weapons in the game. But if I'm being real, more often than not when I watch longsword gameplay, all I see is moves that'll trip me in multiplayer, another counter every game, and anime.
I have the power of God and anime on my side! Wait,
That's no shade to you longsword users out there. Just your weapon. Okay. I promise I'll do my best to behave as we go through this trailer. There are actually some pretty neat changes being displayed here, so let's stop playing and get right into it. In comparison to the Gunlance and Hunting Horn trailers we just got, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible here, Longsword showed us a lot less outright flashy hype fuel. That's not to say that this was a bad trailer or anything, or that the weapon didn't get much. Quite the opposite in fact. I'm seeing a lot of the tweaks and new attacks that the lucky few that got to see the gameplay footage at Summer Games Fest mentioned, but the way they were presented here was much more subtle than what we've seen over the last 2 days. Take the Spirit combo for example. Longsword has had a phase slash move in the past games that allowed you to attack while hopping back or to the side to reposition yourself. Now it's looking like the ability is baked into the combo used to level up your spirit gauge. The first two moves are allowing a good bit of side to side movement, which will be helpful for gluing yourself to your intended target and landing that final round slash. There might be a bit of hyper armor here too. Valhara was clearly in range to land the spite attack, but the hunter didn't really react. That might be a small detail to stick in the back pocket for later, but if it's already a thing Longsword gets currently, please let me know in the comments. Moving on though, we see some info about the spirit gauge. This UI info clears up some questions I might have had about longsword mechanics this time around, something that would have been much appreciated, say, in yesterday's trailer. But what can you do? Gamescom is like a week and some change away. We'll all probably get all the answers we want for all the weapons then. From what I can see here though, from no meter to yellow, there aren't many changes. Regular attacks build the gauge, spirit slashes deplete it, the 1 EI sheathing slash gives you passive regeneration, and your round slash levels up the gauge. It's when the hunter hits red that the fun begins. Immediately after that final slash, we see a new jumping slash wall turning into almost complete 180 degrees. I'm told that this is similar to a move from Monster Hunter Online, but unfortunately I haven't been able to find any clips of that to compare. It'd be pretty cool if that ended up being the case though, because while there's been a bit of Frontier creeping its way into the main series lately, there's been next to nothing from Online. Since that game wasn't Capcom developed, there was a slightly different design mindset going on there, which could lead to some interesting situations if the two ever mixed. In this scenario, for Longsword it means that you aren't forced to either sheath or go into an EI stance after a round slash and can keep going right on the offensive. On top of that, the Spirit combo goes through an almost Insect Glaive-like moveset change in red mode and gains a bunch of added slashes. There's also a notable difference in how the gauge works in red compared to the previous states. Instead of having the meter and the level be separate, where one fills or gets used depending on your attacks and the other slowly depletes until it either runs out or reaches the next level, red gauge sort of combines both. You don't use any of it with your spirit slashes, but the meter constantly depletes over time. We aren't shown whether it goes down to yellow or nothing once it's fully empty, which from what I understand is kind of a make or break detail for you longsword users, so that's something I hope you guys found out during Gamescom. Next up, we see a bit of focus mode, which shows us something friends and teammates of longsword users everywhere will be very happy to see. Precise, vertically targeted attacks instead of wide sweeping slashes. Yeah, I hear you guy in the back yelling, why are you still complaining when you can just slot and flinch free? Sometimes it's nice when the tripping hazards out there actually have alternative options that'll let them share the space better. It is understandable that Longsword kinda doesn't have a choice sometimes but to use that notoriously disruptive set of moves because without them, they can't really reach full damage potential. Not really you guys' fault, but at the same time, you gotta forgive us for memeing on you if we forgive you for all the interruptions. Now though, there might be another way. Rewinding back to the red spirit combo, a few of those moves also seem like they might be more focused into a tighter area right in front of the longsword user too. We'll have to see how things play out on multiplayer hunts, but it's a pretty good sign that Capcom might have taken a couple more steps to fix that age-old stigma. Lastly, we get the usual rapid-fire sequence of flashy new and returning moves. Without any additional UI information, the EI counter looks like it's working the same as ever, so we'll skip that. The Helmbreaker on the other hand is getting a touch-up in the form of this fancy new follow-up after you land. Now, mind you, when I say Longsword reminds me of anime, that's not an insult. I love me some anime for one, and it'd be kinda silly to make that comparison in a negative sense anyway, considering that Monster Hunter is a game series produced in Japan. But this is what I'm talking about when I say that. Enjoy your cool points. I can't even be mad at it, because that move was smooth as hell. And I already got my fill of cool factor for my main yesterday, so there's no weapon jealousy to speak of here. Not even after this final clip, where, surprise surprise, say it with me folks, Longsword is getting another counter. Who could have guessed? But in all seriousness, this is both fine and expected, because it's most likely one of those clash or counter moments every weapon has been showcasing so far at the end of their trailers. The more of those I see, the more I feel like this guess is spot on, but we'll keep looking for more supporting evidence with the rest of the showcases. This wraps up this one though. Like I said, the tone of this trailer was a lot less pedal to the floor crazy like the last few, but there were no less new toys for you guys to enjoy using. My take here is that Longsword is shifting to a more dialed back, almost surgical precision type of feel, rather than the full-on slice and dice we currently see. As much as I'm not a fan of it, I would like to learn more about it so I know if I'm not far off on the mark there. So all you masters of the Japanese blade out there watching this video, teach me your ways. Am I ever going to use Longsword myself? Probably not. But since this is one of the few weapons where the implications of the new stuff is a bit of a mystery to me, I'm interested in finding out how big the changes shown in this video are to you guys. Now, if I'm remembering the last batch of trailers correctly, Capcom did take a day or two off on the releases over the weekend, so we may or may not see another trailer tomorrow. We'll find out when we find out there, but just in case, until tomorrow or next week, this has been another K-Plays, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.